Hi everybody, I'm going to talk today about some key pointers about having self-worth and not comparing ourselves to others. And the first thing in this sequence is to become self-aware. And I think we all have those moments where we may have a lot of awareness around like, this is it, this is the moment where I'm steeped in not having self-aware or not having self-worth, not having that sense of self-love right now. And other times we might not really be aware of it, and it might just be something that's sort of in the background of our awareness, like subconsciously or something, and we just know something's off, but we don't really know why. So that's the first thing, is awareness. And so how do we do that? A lot of times it's just, I think, taking a moment to become aware of our physical body. And so that could just be, if you could take one thing, if you don't already do this, just maybe take like one time in the middle of the day. Maybe it's like when you're at lunch, you're having lunch, whatever, like just do a mental sweep and just become aware of all of the parts of your body and what's going on. Is there tension in my chest? Is there tightness in my throat or my jaw? Do I just feel kind of like too much electricity is going through my body? And so those are ways to become aware of what's just happening internally and bring that awareness to why. And then that can be the next question of, we know that feeling of when we're comparing ourselves to others, we know that feeling. I know for me it's a kind of a heaviness, like I just sort of get weighted down with thoughts, and I get weighted down with that no matter what I'm doing, I mean, these are the thoughts really that come through my mind. It's like I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm trying so hard, and yet all of it just seems kind of pointless, and like that that I'm not getting the recognition that I deserve, or I'm not getting to where I thought that I should be, or my cycles just keep going over and over again, even though I'm trying so hard to break out of them. Or there's always somebody else that is somewhere here that we perceive as like this other place that we're trying to get, or that, and maybe we change that bar often in terms of like, maybe we are to where we thought we would want to be a year ago, maybe we are there now, but then we've moved the bar again. So these are all things that we sort of have, that these are things honestly that come into my mind, and that I start to feel kind of a heaviness. And a lot of times too, I'll just feel this like tension. And I deal with anxiety on a day-to-day basis. So I think for me, it's also that feeling of having like too much electricity going through my body. My heart just feels tense. My chest feels tense. Again, just that sense of heaviness. So these are opportunities where I need self-love. I know it's often at lunch, I just sit down and I'm like, dang, half of the day, okay, half of the day's gone, and I've got half of the day to go, so what am I gonna do? And these are some of the things that I do. So step one, self-awareness, just become aware that we're even in that state in the first place. So step number two then, and this comes from an author named Kristin Neff, and her book is called Self-Compassion. And so some of these things come directly from there. But the things that I do are, I oftentimes, I'm responsive to physical touch. There's such a thing in that book that she just refers to as compassionate touch. And so a lot of times, if the heart is just so key in self-love. I mean, we're talking about self-worth, self-love. It's the heart, and that's such a key place. So I just put my hand on my heart, close my eyes, and I take a few deep breaths. A lot of times I think just bringing a lot of oxygen into this area of the body just helps to kind of like open things up as well, and especially for me when things get tight. So I'll just take a couple of really deep breaths. Like that, and I'll just kind of feel the warmth of my hand and the weight of my hand. Not weight, but like security of my hand right there, like I'm giving myself a hug. That's another one, by the way, is just giving yourself a hug. And I don't do that as often myself, but I could. And that's another one, is just to sort of do that or do this. And then the next step is self-affirmation, or just talking to myself, soothing words for myself, words of self-love. And so I'll just say stuff like, Owen, I love you. I know today is hard, and this is a hard place to be, just in this world and with all of its pressures and all of the things going on. And you're doing such a great job. You are doing such a great job here. I love you for who you are. I love you for what you're doing. Thank you for the way you're living. Thank you for your strength. Thank you for doing your best. I acknowledge you. You're doing your best. in each thing in every day. And I'm so sorry that this is hard for you. I'm so sorry that you're having to go through this pain today in this moment. But I love you. I love you for who you are, and I love you for what you're doing. So just stuff like that, it's just sort of reconnecting with acknowledgement, reconnecting with a sense of that I'm just doing great with where I'm at. I'm just doing great with who I am and what I'm doing right now. So that's the second step, is words of self-affirmation, compassionate touch. And again, those, you can check out a book called Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff on those. So that's number 2. Number 3 is that I come back to a sense of my niche, and I call this like my niche statement or my niche purpose in the world. And I think that each individual one of us has something super unique and something super special that we're supposed to bring to the world, and that's just what we have to come back to when it comes to this third step, of being having that sense of self-worth and self-love. Is not what is somebody else doing and what have they accomplished, and I'm such a bum compared to that or whatever. It's where am I? And what I want to come back to here is yoga. And when I've done a yoga class, this is just one yoga class that I did when I first started, I think, or at least it was one of the first yoga classes that I took. And basically what happened was I was comparing myself to the teacher, right? I was like, that yoga teacher can do this huge stretch, right? Like their leg is over the back of their head or something. And so I immediately started to compare myself to that. And I was like, okay, well, until I get there, I'm not really going to be successful with yoga. And as if they were reading my thought, they just said, yoga is not about comparing yourself to anybody else. Yoga is about, if this is your first yoga class, yoga is about how far can you stretch, and that's your perfect spot for today. That's your sweet spot. That's your zone, for today, as far as exactly where you need to be with your stretching. And then tomorrow, or the next day, or however often you're doing yoga, see if you can just go from here, wherever that was on your first day, to there, and that's it. That's just your personal sweet spot again for the day. And that's your niche, that's where you live right now with yoga and with your stretching. And so, it's oftentimes when we think and we compare ourselves to the yoga master again or something, where we go, I need to go from here to here, and we try to just immediately take this huge jump, that we hurt ourselves, right? And they're just using that word hurt. That's maybe what we feel emotionally. There's an emotional hurt that happens in terms of our self-worth. Our self-worth is hurt. It's damaged in those moments. So if anything helps, just for me, that's the thought that came to my mind, was just the yoga stretching thing. And just coming back to our own niche statement, our own goals in terms of where am I today and where am I tomorrow, and that's it. And it's not to say that cycle won't repeat and that we'll, have one of those moments where we are comparing ourselves to somebody else again, or really just feeling in that sense of lacking self-worth, lacking self-love in that moment. Well, then start the cycle over again, make it so that you're going back to square one with where we started today. Awareness, healing touch, healing words, coming back to my own niche. Awareness, coming back to my own words, my own sense of self-love, my own sense of niche and where I'm going. So that's what I do, honestly. I'm not perfect at it. I deal every day with these kind of issues of self-worth and comparing myself to others. And so you're not alone in that, and I hope some of these ideas, they're helpful for me to revisit today, and I hope they're helpful for you.